episode of the Business of Business podcast. I'm your host, Roy. Of course, we are the podcast that brings you a wide variety of guests that speak to a diverse set of topics. Hopefully, we can point some things out that maybe you haven't thought about or haven't been on your radar, or if there are things that are keeping you up at night, we can actually provide some solutions and some professionals that can help you with that. So we just want to see everybody be successful. And today we have an awesome guest we've been waiting to get on. Ted Janus is a certified speaking professional and a certified virtual presenter. He has facilitated over 1,100 workshops, which is over 6,500 total hours in 49 of the 50 states, with the lone exception being Wyoming, across Canada, from Halifax to Vancouver, and in Australia, Mexico, and Puerto Rico. His work has appeared on BusinessWeek.com, MSNBC.com, and he has been invited to appear on the Fox News channel. He is a member of the National Speakers Association and earned an MBA in marketing from the University of Pittsburgh. He is also the author of Superpower Marketing and Branding, No Cost to Low Cost Resources to Propel Your Business. Ted, thanks for taking time out of your day to be with us.
It's a pleasure to be here, Roy.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you got here. I mean, has speaking been something that you've done, since your early days, and that's just kind of the path you've always been on, or has it kind of been that long and winding road like a lot of us have had?
Well, it's definitely been a long and winding road, Roy, but I actually started the day before 9/11.
Oh, wow.
Except I didn't know it was the day before 9/11 until the next day.
Yeah.
So I started speaking when I still had a full-time job, and then I enjoyed training so much in that corporate environment, I went out on my own. And you just told about the results, but yeah, it was a long and winding road. I wish I would have started many years ago, but my wife said, and all of us can take heart in this, you weren't ready.
Yeah.
You weren't ready yet. So
that's a hard lesson that I'm still trying to learn on some things, is like, in due time when you're ready. But we all want it yesterday.
Yes.
And speaking is, I think a lot of people may not realize that speaking can also be a great form of marketing. And I know
excellent. Yes.
we used to, utilize that at professional trade shows. You get to be the speaker presenter at one of the little breakout sessions, talk about your discipline. And, it's not, again, I'll ask it as a question, not really supposed to make it a commercial or more of a sales pitch, but you present your information about what you do or what you know, and then of course people are interested after listening. Tell us a little bit about how that works.
Sure. Well, during the recession, during the housing crisis, I had to give up what I love to do and get a real job.
Yeah.
So what I was doing was I was selling training for a community college.
Okay.
And I was smiling and dialing, and that just wasn't working well, Roy. So what I decided to do was something totally different. I made up these postcards and I sent them to local businesses and said, hey, let us come in for lunch. We'll provide a meal for your employees, and we'll give them a little educational session, all free of charge. Just invite us in. So the very first one I went out on, we gave a half-hour presentation on time refuses to be managed, how to manage yourself instead. Well, unbeknownst to me, there was the CEO of the corporation sitting in the audience. Now, what would have been the chances, Roy, of me connecting with the CEO if I made a cold call?
Yeah, probably zero.
Zero.
To
but
less.
Because, she was in this environment where she didn't feel threatened.
Right.
In fact, we didn't even know she was the CEO. After the presentation, she came up to us and said, you were talking about some things I think we need some help with. Could you assist us? And we got a $50,000 contract out of that first lunch and learn. So yes, I agree. Because people are looking for, not speakers, for instance, they're looking for experts.
Right.
People who know things.
Yeah.
They want to get information.
Yeah.
And that's a very good no cost or low cost way to get in to see potential clients.
Yeah, and I like that because of that education factor. Because, like you said, one of my biggest marketing techniques, even with email and newsletters, is to provide information, not always be just, "Are you ready to buy yet?" But one of the things I do is like, if I find a good article somewhere, you can put little tidbits of that in an email,
Right.
just say, hey, I thought you may be interested. But I think, number one, we take the time to educate. We're giving something to our audience and that company. But we're also, it's a forum for us to present that we really are expert. We really do have this information that's valuable to you.
Oh, I agree
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, before coming on this podcast, what I did was I had an article printed in an association publication, and I ran off copies and I sent it out to other associations. And all I had on there, Roy, was a post-it note that said, could this information be valuable to your members?
Right.
And then on the very last page, I had information about my breakout session at the conference. But I didn't say, hire me, I'm a great speaker. Here's some information for you.
Yeah.
In fact, we teach that with newsletters. So many of those email newsletters are just veiled product pitches with maybe a 10% discount.
Yeah.
That's not what people want. To have a successful e-newsletter, solve your buyer's problems once a month.
Yeah.
Make it be about them. Or, for instance, a success story. Some client you helped. In fact, the formula I would suggest is talk about the problem and you tell a story about the problem, because your potential client could see themselves in that story. You don't pitch anything. You don't try and sell anything. You just say, hey, Roy had this issue and maybe you're experiencing something similar. Let me tell you about what was going on with Roy. Then you talk about how you solved the problem. And then at the very end, have the client come in and talk about how well Roy served me in his own words. Because they're going to believe that client far more than your own marketing puffery or a salesperson.
Right.
So yes, like you were saying, Roy, always look at ways to solve people's problems. Be a problem solver.
Right.
Or if you're a speaker, be an expert who speaks.
Yeah, and I think you hit probably 3 or 4 of the topics of, some podcasts that I've done in the past. First off, education. To me, again, that's my personal choice for the best thing of marketing. Storytelling. It's always good to, have a story. The problem solution is awesome. And then the other person coming in that you've worked for coming in to substantiate, not only substantiate the story that you just told, but I think people, our prospects, would much rather hear that Roy is great from Ted telling them Roy's great than from Roy telling Roy telling them that.
Right.
Because it's easy for me to tell everybody how great I am, and my mother believes me. She believes me, but there's just so much more validity to it when we actually have that client step up. So I love the way that this ties everything together. And another key point I think that really encapsulates all that is make it about that prospect,
exactly.
Or make it about the group.
Yes. They're the protagonist.
Yes.
In fact, that's the reason you tell stories. It's not so people can learn about Ted or Roy. It's so they see themselves in your story. It's like when I give presentations, I talk about my wife and my kids, not so you get to know about my wife and kids, but so you see your spouse or your children in it.
Yeah. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that, because I think that's important. We have to make that story relatable, like you just said, kind of where they can see a portion of them in this story, or at least the problem of the story is something that I'm experiencing. But we can't make it too long, too drawn out.
No.
We can't make it too complex.
Get rid of the fluff, get rid of the details, because they're only concerned. Everybody listens to the same radio station, Roy, and its call letters are WIIFM. What's in it for me?
Right.
So anytime you give a presentation, you have to think, as you do, about the listener, the viewer, because they're sitting there thinking, so what? Who cares? What's in it for me?
Right. Yeah, and the sooner we get to that, the better off that we are. And and the other thing is not making it overly complex we may want to have some data that we can throw out, but it should be easily understood, and not like, if you multiply, 1,000 times 4.5, and then you divide it, and then you square root that, and then do because after about the second or third number, a lot of people aren't that numbers oriented, and you can basically see their eyes roll back up in their head.
Exactly. Yeah, in fact, I'd like to talk about a book, not my book, but I don't know, Roy, if you've ever read the book Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath. You'd know it because it has an orange cover and duct tape on it. Made to Stick.
I think I've actually got it on my show on my shelf in here.
Well,
Yeah.
let me give you the Reader's Digest version of the book. They studied marketing campaigns to find out which ones stuck, which ones were most successful. And they boiled it down to 6 factors, which is the word success without the last S. So the first S is just what you were talking about, Roy. You have to make it simple. Don't talk about 10 things. Talk about one thing in detail.
Yeah.
The U stands for unexpected. Why do we laugh at jokes? Because the story's going like this, and all of a sudden the punchline goes off to the side, and we go, ha, 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 ha. Now, if you're selling industrial screws, this could be a challenge. But if you take a look at the YouTube videos that have been most popular, they all do something unexpected.
Right.
Like one of my favorite business YouTube videos that went viral was Dollar Shave Club. Have you ever seen that video?
I don't guess so.
Okay. That's your homework assignment.
Okay.
Right? No, the reason I mention it is because the gentleman who produced that video, he ultimately sold his company, which he created off of one YouTube video, to Unilever for $1 billion. Because
Wow.
all he does is sell razors.
Yeah.
Okay, but it doesn't look like a Gillette commercial. Let me just leave it at that. The whole thing is unexpected. You have to keep watching. Like, what the heck's he going to do next? The C stands for concrete. You have to make it very easy for people to grasp the idea.
Yeah.
The next C is credible. Why should I listen to you? Why are you the authority? In fact, we'll be talking about books. If you write a book, you are the trusted member of the community.
Right.
And we'll talk about how easy that is. The next letter is E, emotion. Roy, people spend billions of dollars each year in a normal year going to sporting events, going to movies. Nobody's ever spent a dime to see a PowerPoint presentation.
Right.
And what's the difference? People want to get emotionally involved. They want to laugh. They want to scream. They want to boo. They want to yell. They even pay hundreds of dollars to cry to see their football team lose. All right. So they want to get emotionally involved. And the last letter we just talked about, S for story. Dale Carnegie said a good 30-minute presentation is 15 2-minute stories woven together. They won't remember, like you said, the data and the statistics and the facts and the charts, but they will remember a story, especially if it's emotional.
Right.
So take a look at your presentations, take a look at your marketing campaigns, and do they have success? Meaning simple, unexpected, credible, concrete, and an emotional story.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull that book off the shelf
Yeah.
and give it that a read.
Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath. They're brothers. One's a professor at Duke, the other one a professor at Stanford. So pretty smart guys.
Okay. So, do you use props, or do you use a deck when you present? Do you use something, or just mainly just speaking?
I do use PowerPoint, and there's been some discussion among speakers whether you need to have a PowerPoint deck. And I say you don't have to, but then you have to be visually interesting.
Yeah.
Because as you know, there's 3 types of learners. There's the visual learner, there is the auditory learner, and then there is the kinesthetic learner, the person who learns by doing. So if you're, and you never know who you're going to have in your audience.
Right.
So if you have a visual learner and all you're doing is auditory, you're just speaking, they're tuning you out. So you have to make sure you have something for everybody. And by PowerPoint, we don't mean tons of bullet points. We mean visuals.
Yeah.
Visuals that will reinforce your story. It's like I've heard speakers say, I'm not funny. We have a saying in the National Speakers Association, do you have to be funny as a speaker? And the answer is no, only if you want to get paid. Okay.
Right.
So you can put up a funny image. It doesn't have to all be on you, but make sure that the PowerPoint is reinforcing you. It isn't the presentation.
Right.
You're the presentation. That's your prop.
Yeah. Well, awesome. And so, I guess out of all this, you decided to write the book, The Superpower Marketing Branding Profession, and for with the no cost and low cost resources to propel your business, which I assume is going to help us with this presentation.
Yeah, in fact, that's what I did. I didn't really write the book because I don't know, Roy, have you tried to write a book?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
you know how tough that is.
Yes.
You know, you get out your piece of paper, you get the pen, and you write a sentence, and then
Yeah.
you start correcting it.
Yeah.
Ernest
The
Hemingway
blank
said,
page mocks you.
yeah, exactly, exactly. In fact, Ernest Hemingway, the famous author, said, "Write drunk, edit sober." Well,
Yeah.
you know, maybe he didn't mean that exactly, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the way I got my book was I happened to give a presentation, an hour-long presentation to a chapter, and they put on social media how wonderful it was. So one of the members sent me the video of my presentation. I uploaded it to a site called Rev. Are you familiar with
Yes.
Rev?
Yes. I used to use them. Yes.
Yeah, rev.com. You upload it to that site for $1 a minute. They'll transcribe what you said. And in a few hours, you'll get it back. Now, obviously, you write differently than you speak. Okay, but it was a huge, 80% of the work was done right there.
Right.
Because I love to edit, I hate to write. So it was easy. I had 11,000 word document already done. I just had to go in and, clean it up. And so that would be a recommendation I'd have for speakers and trainers. Just, have somebody either audio or video record yourself, upload it to a site called rev.com, and then within just a few hours, you'll have most of the book right there.
Yeah, well, that's good advice, and I never really thought about that, but it is much easier for a lot of us to speak, and if you're not a good typing guru, that I spend more time correcting spelling errors than I do actually getting words on a piece of paper.
Well, I like what you said. The paper just sits there and mocks you.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, I am blank. Put something on me.
Well, even like writing blogs, even if you're only trying to get, 800, 1,000, 1,200 words, it's like, oh, I got this awesome idea. You sit down, crack the knuckles, get your drink, get all set up, and it's like, you get maybe 2 sentences out, and it's like, where is this going? Nowhere.
Somebody
Nowhere
tell
fast.
me.
Yes. Yeah, that's a non-writer writer. I guess it happens to real writers, but, for us non-writer writers, it is an affliction for sure.
Yes, I agree.
But, and you mentioned this earlier, is that having a book, even if it, and I think one mistake that I make a lot of times is, we think about these 200, 250 word books that, and it really doesn't have to be that way. It just needs to be something that makes good sense for whatever you're doing that you could put in somebody's hand. And it really has a huge effect on people.
Definitely. Yes. Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with a study that Microsoft did. Roy, they said the average attention span of an American adult is now less than that of a goldfish.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, goldfishes apparently can focus for 9 seconds. The average adult, 8 seconds. I don't know how you measure the attention span of a goldfish, but Microsoft's pretty smart. So, like you said, keep it short.
Right.
I don't know about you, Roy, but if I'm interested in something, I don't want to go to Amazon and find a 300-page book about it.
Right.
Just give me the top 10 tips.
Yeah.
The 8 keys, the 5 secrets that you're not.
Yeah.
I want it right now.
Yeah.
I just don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the attention span to labor over something like that.
Yeah, and one thing I've looked at too is just making multiple modules. You can have one 50-pager that talks about one part and just break that up, because I think it goes with our attention span again, that somebody's more apt to sit down and breeze through 50. I wished I'd have been this is, when we have regrets from our childhood, and my mother, I know that she'll be glad to hear me say that. I wish I had read more books. Yeah, finally. I'm admitting it. I wish I had read more books, because, it's I guess it's like training to run a marathon. The more because like now I love to read, but I'll lay down and read 2 pages and, fall asleep in there. So, I think for people like me, I can get through the 50, 100 pages pretty quick. But, once, like you said, if it's too daunting, it just sits on the nightstand.
Mm-hmm. And here's another key, Roy. You have to be a good date for the reader. What does this mean? If you're not enjoying writing it, if it doesn't flow, the reader isn't going to enjoy reading it.
Right.
And they probably aren't. You know, if it's too laborious on their end, like you said, you're going to fall right asleep.
Yeah.
So you got to be having fun so that they can have fun.
Yeah.
And here's another thing. Just start someplace. Doesn't have to be at the beginning. Start in the middle, you know, because of course with Microsoft Word, you can move things around. Just get started.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good tip for a lot of things is just get started, that momentum. You'll be amazed at what just that first step, how easy it is for the second and third step to come after that. So once we get it, you know, through Rev, I understand that process. We get it back, and it's usually in either you know, like a Word document. We can do
Right.
some more edits, but how do we actually get that to be an ebook?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, Roy. Yeah. Well, unlike when I wrote my first book, I mean, back then it was just a real tedious process, you know. But now there is a free resource, because that's what we're talking about, is free resources. Take that Word document that you've edited, you know, after Rev give you the file back, you got the Word document, you edit it, and you upload it to a site called Kindle Direct Publishing. Kindle Direct Publishing. It's part of Amazon. And they'll make it look, rather than a Word document, they'll make it look like a book. And it's totally free. Now, the only thing you're missing in that process is what, Roy?
I don't know. I don't know enough to even know what we're missing.
The cover.
Oh, the cover.
The cover.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So this is the only cost. All right. Get yourself a cover. Now, are you familiar with the site Fiverr, Roy?
Yes.
Fiverr.com.
Yes.
You know, where there's fantastically talented artists, but they primarily live in, we used to be able to say third world. It's now called developing countries,
Yes.
where maybe they can live on $5 a day. So it doesn't mean they're not professional. It doesn't mean they're not creative. It doesn't mean that they're not courteous. It doesn't mean they're talented. It's just that, you know, they have a different economy.
Right.
So now the site is hit or miss. All right. So always go with a recommendation. But one of my favorite artists is the guy who creates my ebook covers. So for instance, let me show you my book here. I do not think this looks like a self-published book.
No, not at all.
Yeah. One of my biggest pet peeves with self-publishers is their books that look like they're self-published.
Yeah.
We judge a book by its cover. So, make it look professional. But he put together the cover for my ebook for just $5.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
And let me just, if I could, just tell a quick story.
Yeah, sure.
Part of the process is he asks you to choose an image. So he gives you a library and you go through and you choose images and you get to choose 5. And I kind of thought he would use this one, but he, of course, is a graphic artist. I am not. Instead, he chose this one, which is far better than the cartoony type image that I came up with.
Yeah.
And again, $5.
Yeah.
Oh, so let me give you his name.
Okay.
It's ebook cover _exper. Ebook cover _XPER. So you can go to Fiverr, FIVERR.com. Look him up and see some of the great work he's done.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've had some logo work done over there, and it's a surprisingly good experience for the amount of money that you pay. You know, it's not just a one-time exchange. You know, like the people I work with, there is a back and forth, and them actually trying hard to get what you want. You know, the representation that you want. So, like you said, you just need to be careful to go with somebody that's got some
That's
recommendations, because, you know, it's with the feedback in that system.
Exactly.
The feedback means a whole lot, and if there's
It
no
does.
feedback, sometimes that
Right.
means a whole
There's
lot
a
as
reason.
well. Exactly.
Yeah. So at this point, you have the ebook. Now, some people, of course, like the paperback book. That's something they could actually hold. So you can actually use Kindle Direct Publishing to create a book. So they're on Amazon. For the millions of people who use Amazon and are looking for a topic, they'd have a choice. Either they could download your ebook, use their Kindle reader, or they could order a paperback. And the nice thing there is, when I wrote my first book, Roy, in order to get a decent price on the book, I had to order 2,000 copies. You know what 2,000 copies of a book look like?
Yes.
It came on a pallet.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to store them in my basement, attic, and garage. My neighbor's basement, attic, and garage. They got moldy. All right. You don't have to do that anymore. With Kindle Direct Publishing, you print on demand. So, let's say you were going to give a presentation. You could sell, you could order and sell 25 copies back of the room. And what I like about it is you could probably, for this book, I could order author copies for $2.15.
Wow.
I mean, that's less than the price of a greeting card.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So you can order author copies, use those as market. What I do is I use this as marketing material
Yep.
because, like you said, it educates.
Yep.
It's not selling anything. I'm trying to show myself as the trusted expert.
And hold that back up again. The other thing that is, even if people don't read it, it's a huge business card. I mean, it tells your story. It's got your name, and even if it's laying around on somebody's coffee table, it's still a presence in front of people, which that's awesome.
I remember the first, when I wrote my first book, I was giving a presentation, I had my books there, and a lady bought a copy, and she looked at me with awe because apparently she'd never met a published author before.
Yeah.
She said, "Will you sign my book?" I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
but yeah, well, you kind of have to organize your thoughts. You know, you've gone through the process, and so therefore you have this aura of credibility that someone else who has all the information in their head, but doesn't have tangible proof.
Yeah.
This can make all the difference. And like I said, it doesn't matter what, you're a plumber. You could write a book about how to fix your drains or whatever, put it in a book. It's going to cost you $5. And you could give this out to potential clients, whatever your expertise is.
Right.
Set yourself apart. I know you talk about employee retention, and that's a huge issue right now, of course, as you know. But I think the second biggest issue for small businesses is how do you set yourself apart from all your competitors?
Right.
And an ebook or book is a great way to do it.
Yeah, we talk a lot about just the noise level out there now, as you have to do, back in the day, if you had a website, that was above the noise, but now it's like, well, everybody's got one and everybody is doing this level. So we've got to take that next step, which basically, the other cool thing about this is, kind of taking a step back is, once you get your rev copy edited before you submit it, what a lot of great social media posts that you've just got bound up right there.
Take the chunks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
in fact, I don't mean to interrupt you, Roy.
No,
I was trying not to do that. I just get so excited about talking about this. But it's very key to chunk your information.
Yeah.
Chunk your information. So what I usually do in my classes, I ask somebody to write down a random 9-digit number. Any 9 numbers will do as long as they're not sequential. So after they do that, I'll say, Roy, if I were to see you next week, first of all, thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast. And then I'd ask you, could you recall that 9-digit number? Do you think you could?
Probably not, no.
Oh, you could. I couldn't, but you could.
I was going to say, I couldn't even remember what I had for lunch this afternoon. But
well, I'm going to give you a little trick, a little tip.
Okay.
All right. After the 3rd digit and the 5th digit, so after the 3rd number and the 5th number, put in a dash, put in a hyphen after the 3rd number and the 5th number. Now, if you can visualize that, what does that look like in your mind's eye now?
I was saying like Social Security number.
Yeah. Boom. We've gone from 9 pieces of information down to just 3. We've chunked the information. See, a confused mind never learns. A confused mind never buys. That's why, for instance, there are the 7 habits of highly effective people. Not some of the habits of highly effective people. In fact, I just used that on you a little while ago by talking about that principle from Made to Stick. It was an acronym. They chunked the information, so it's spelled SUCCES. That's how I'm able to remember it. Yeah. If I didn't have that acronym, I couldn't tell you. Yeah. But when we chunk the information, it makes it really easy for people to remember.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're sometimes it's like that. The blank page mocking us that we talked about earlier. It's like, okay, well, we want to sit down and schedule some social media out, and it kills me because I know people that are bloggers or good writers, and they're like, I don't know what I'm going to put out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you got 3 pages of information. You just pull from it, and you're able to do the same thing, like you said, chunk it, but you're still educating, you're still drawing attention to yourself. So I mean, this is an awesome tool that we've just created for ourselves.
In fact, I want to give you an alternative to blogging. This is one of my favorite tips.
Okay.
You're on LinkedIn, right, Roy?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Yeah, I saw you there on LinkedIn. Yeah. Okay. So on the homepage of LinkedIn, the top middle,
Okay.
There's either a button or a link that says write an article.
Okay.
Okay. So click on that link. It'll take you to a 3-part template. At the top of the template, they're looking for an image, kind of like what's behind you, for instance. Now, one of my favorite sites to get images is Pixabay. Have you ever used Pixabay?
No, have not.
Pixabay. Pixabay.
Okay.
Now, one of the reasons I love going to that site is you were talking about websites. I happened to open up my P.O. box and I got a letter from Getty Images. Unbeknownst to me, my webmaster had unauthorized use of one of their images, and I got a bill for $1,000.
Yes.
You don't want to do that.
No,
Okay.
no.
But Pixabay, these are images from amateur photographers. Now, it doesn't mean they're not good because, with our iPhones now, I mean, they're so sophisticated.
Right.
Anybody can be what looks like a professional photographer. And what I also like about it is it doesn't look like stock photography.
Yeah.
Everybody looks so prim and proper and perfect. I
Yeah.
mean, these are real images, and it's a search engine. So, for instance, if you wanted to do an article about employee retention, you could type in employee, and it would show you images of employees. Okay, no cost. Now, you can give attribution. You can give a contribution if you like. One of the things I always do is I at least like the image, to give whoever provided it some feedback.
Yeah.
So I get an image from pixabay.com. And the next part is the headline. And so what I do in the headline is I think about how people would be looking for the information in my article. What do people type into Google?
All right.
And the reason I do that is, when Google is looking for answers, they go to a credible site like LinkedIn and they'll look for information there. So I want my title, my headline, to match what they're typing in the search engine.
Okay.
So that's the second part of this template. The third part is the body copy.
Yeah.
500 words or less. Remember, they're short attention spans. There's a little blue button in the upper right corner. It says publish. Hit that, and it goes out to all your connections. Now, I'm very particular as to who my friends are on Facebook. Like, for instance, if I get a request from a half-naked female, I think I probably shouldn't go there. Right. But with LinkedIn, it's just business.
Right.
I never know when I could help you or you could help me. So I always say yes to those connections. And I have 1,300 connections, and I never did anything to promote it.
Yeah.
So as soon as you do that, your article goes out to all of them. And then what you can also do is take that link and use it on your other social media sites.
Yeah.
Use it on your website. And what it'll say is the title of your article by Roy Barker. It doesn't say by Roy Barker. It says LinkedIn.com. This information is coming from LinkedIn.com. All right.
Yeah.
You're an authority now.
Yeah.
So at least get started there. If writing an ebook or a book, it just seems too intimidating to you, start with a LinkedIn article. It's another one of those no-cost resources. All it does is it takes up a little bit of your time, and you can prove yourself to be again, trusted member of the community, the real authority on your topic.
Yeah. Yeah, and because LinkedIn is they have such a high domain authority, it really boosts I think it really boosts your credibility as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the other thing you can do, of course, is post videos. 80% of what we'll be consuming online will be videos. And keep them short.
Yeah.
Again, very, very short. Within 10 seconds, according to TubeMogul, within 10 seconds, 10% of your audience will be gone. By the half-minute mark, a third. By the 1 minute mark, a half. By the 2 minute mark, 3/4.
Wow.
So keep them short.
Yeah.
Keep them really short. Again, because of that short attention span.
Yeah.
But you can post videos. Put your videos on YouTube, on LinkedIn as well.
Okay. Yeah, videos are. They used to reference it. I'm sure my audience gets tired of hearing me say it. I say it all the time. But we talked about pictures were like breadcrumbs to your article, where videos were like chocolate-covered breadcrumbs to your article. That they just have so much more impact. And we talk about this too, the importance of using a picture or video. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons that was explained to me, it really made a lot of sense at one time, was that when you write even just a post on LinkedIn or Facebook, you take up, maybe an inch, half an inch of real estate. Where if you have a picture, now all of a
Yes.
sudden you have widened out that real estate because it's easier to scroll by a couple lines of text than it is that picture makes at least it visible. And then if you have a great image, it gets somebody's attention, to read whatever
Definitely.
you've posted there. So,
Definitely. And if a picture's worth 1,000 words, a video's probably worth a million.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm like you. I like things that look more real. I try to take pictures, myself to use. I don't, there's times we have to use the stock image. You can't get around it, but not my choice. Also, depending on what we're writing about, if it's our company or our service or something that's more personalized, a picture of you goes a long way to people can identify you with the company name, with the service, makes people feel more comfortable.
Yeah, and that's the thing about social media marketing. You want to make it real, make it
Yeah.
authentic.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
That's
if,
why it's different.
yeah, I see a lot of these websites. It's, I was helping a young lady and they had a bunch of equipment, trucks, and some manufacturing equipment that they were showing stock pictures of something that looked kind of like it. I'm like, well, why are we doing that? Why don't we show
real
the real thing?
Right.
Have a real worker standing by this thing. And
Because people can tell the difference just
yeah,
like you can.
yeah, exactly. And so anyway, I think it makes such a much better presentation. But I was just reading down through here. You're talking about forget the rejection and the stress of cold calling.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I already told you a little bit of that story.
yeah,
I send out postcards. You know, I was working for another speaker and he had me doing some cold calling, Roy, and I kept track. That day I made 49 cold calls. I talked to a machine 45 times.
yeah.
I mean, I remember maybe you do too, back in the old days where people would actually would answer their phone.
Right. Yeah.
But now on my iPhone, it's a number I don't recognize, if it's not one of my contacts, I never take it.
Right.
As a matter of fact, if they don't leave a message, I automatically block the caller so they don't call back.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I made these 49 calls, 45 times I talked to voicemail. The 4 times I did talk to an actual person, they told me, go to hell.
Yeah.
And I thought, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
And I also I listened to a podcast from the National Speakers Association, and the host, like you, was talking about he was interviewing a meeting professional, and she said, I get 10 unsolicited emails each day from speakers. That's 50 a week. And one of the keys to success, I got this from the book, What They Didn't Teach You at at Harvard Business School by Mark McCormick. He said, take a look at what everybody else is doing. And if you want to be successful, do just the opposite.
Right. Right.
So that's why I send postcards. And on the postcards, I don't talk about how wonderful and great I am. I'll talk about things that are of interest to the meeting professional.
Yeah.
For instance, do virtual trade shows work? Or should my virtual conference be pre-recorded? Or how to get the shy expert to speak? Things like that.
Yeah.
Because, if it looks like an ad, what do we do as soon as we get advertisement in the mail?
Yeah.
You don't even
can.
look at it,
Yeah.
right? And so unlike the cold call, where somebody will listen to the first 2 seconds and then delete, or, they may only look at the subject line of an email and they can tell it's coming from a speaker or, some solicitor. With a postcard, you can't help but at least spend 3 to 5 seconds with it. Like, what is this? And what you want to do is make it look like it's coming from a friend. Because I gave this tip to another speaker and she said, oh, great. I'll print off 100 mailing labels and slap them on there. No, 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 no. You want to handwrite it. In fact, sometimes I'll even write something that looks like a personal note.
Yeah.
In fact, just recently I spoke here in Columbus for an association that makes chocolate candies. And the executive director said, you know why I had you come speak? And I said, no. She said, because I loved your marketing materials. They're just so different.
Yeah.
So that's what I do.
Yeah.
I send out postcards. And so I use another artist on Fiverr. Let me give you his name. His name is Balu, B-A-L-U, but he has the handle of Balubfa12, B-A-L-U-B-A 12, Balubfa12 on Fiverr.com. He's in India. And every time he sends me back a PDF of my new postcard, Roy, I get excited like a kid at Christmas. I mean, he does what I would do if I was creative. I give him the general idea and he just works magic.
Right.
And then I go to Vistaprint and have these printed up. By the way, anytime you've used Vistaprint, haven't you?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, never pay full price.
Yeah.
I always do a search on Google for Vistaprint postcards promo code or discount code, and I can
Right.
usually save 30 to 50%.
Yeah.
But that's what I do to be different.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to blend in with everybody else. I want to stand out, and I think that's what a lot of your listeners need to do running small businesses. We
Yeah.
don't have the marketing budget of a Gillette or Procter and Gamble.
Yeah.
So we have to use these guerrilla marketing tactics
Yeah.
in order to get noticed.
Yeah, and it's funny because even no matter what age you are, I still like to get stuff in the mailbox. And now, I'm not so excited about getting emails. That's not the same thing. But when
No, the average white collar worker sends and receives 115 a day now.
Yeah.
And you're just going to blend in with everybody
Right.
else.
yeah, but when she comes down with the mail and says, "Hey, you got something in mail?" I mean, my ears kind of perk up. Like, what is that? So I'm a lot more apt to give it a read. And I think the other good advice you just gave is to, don't. Don't stamp it like
No,
where the
no.
text is. Make it
in
personal.
fact, they laugh at me at the postcard at the post office because I say, "Hey, what fun stamp do you have
Right.
this month?"
Right.
Like I'll put Star Wars stamps on there, or
Right.
something to make it stand out, so it's fun,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and distinctive. In fact, we had the part of the reason I got the idea was we had somebody come speak to our National Speakers Association chapter, and like we said, the average white collar worker sends and receives 115 emails a day.
Yeah.
How many pieces of mail do you get now? Maybe, I don't know, 6, 8,
Yeah.
something like that. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of a break in your day. You're going to take a little time to go through the mail and try it yourself. See if you get an interesting, I don't even know if you get interesting postcards, but if you do, could you not look at it?
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that's another key. I think you have to get it. You have to design it to where it is interesting enough. Somebody's going to flip it over and say, "Hey, what is this?" Yeah,
and
there's-
make it be about them.
Yeah.
I mean, so many postcards that get in the mails, me, 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 me. It's like when I was getting information in the mail for my daughter for colleges. It's all about us, 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 us. No, talk about my daughter.
Right.
Or people like her and how you've been able to help people like her and how much they enjoy the experience or what type of job they got as a result of it. Make it be about the recipient. Make
Yeah.
it be about your client, not about you.
Yeah. Yeah. One more tip. If we're getting kind of late, I know. One more thing I wanted that this kind of brought up that it was an old. So what? This is a way to get a really good free mailing list or low cost mailing list to people that really care about what you're sending them. So this was a jewelry store, and this jewelry store, what they had figured out is that 50 to 70% of their clients were repeat clients. So if they could get you in the door to make the first purchase, about a 50 to 70% chance you're coming back for a second
Right.
purchase. So what they did is they went to a local dentist and they said, "Look, I've got this deal. I want you to send out a letter to your clientele and say, thanks for being such an awesome customer of our dental service. And because of that, we have arranged a, whatever discount." And this particular jewelry store, they set it at cost. So basically, this first purchase was going to be, they weren't going to make any money. They want to make money off of you the next 5 purchases.
Right.
But what they did is they said, we don't want to touch your mailing list. We're not asking you for your
Right.
client's name. We want your secretary. We'll give you the form letter. She can type it out. She will send it out on your letterhead and say, "Thanks for being a client. We've arranged, 30% discount on this purchase." Send it out to all their clients. And then, one good thing to do is you may fund an hour or two of the secretary's time that has to, input the data and send it out and pay for postage. It's not, I shouldn't say it's no cost, it's low cost. But now
You
you've got
share
it.
the costs.
Yeah, yeah. But now you've got an engaged audience because they are current clients of this dentist. They're excited because he's saying, "Thanks for being a client, and I've figured out how you can get a discount at this store." And now the jewelry store, they were just saying, "Hey, this first one is going to be break even for us, but, think about if even 30 or 40% of these people come in and make repeat customers." I've always thought that was such an awesome kind of a.
Oh, it is, Roy. In fact, it even has a name.
Oh, does it? Okay.
That's called fusion marketing.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, the former CEO of UPS said, it used to be if you can't beat them, join them.
Right.
But now it used to be, you try to beat your competition.
Right.
But if you can't do that, then join them.
Yeah.
And then you both can't be beat.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, it's called fusion marketing.
Okay.
And in fact, I heard, for instance, a car dealer and a car wash owner got together, or a sports bar and a sporting goods owner got together, or a hairstylist and a clothing boutique. Each one had a display for the other.
Yeah.
Because again, what does it cost you?
Right.
And it makes both of you look good. So it's a win, win, win.
Yeah. 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 Love the ideas.
Fusion marketing.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm glad we put after all these years, I can put a name to that. I always just say it's that cool thing. All right, Ted. Well, any other points you want to put out to the audience before we wrap this up?
Okay, well, this one is a little bit more philosophical.
Okay.
But it's a tip that I picked up from Brian Tracy.
Okay.
And it's something that I've instituted the last few months. And he said that one of the best things you can do when you get up in the morning is to write down your goals.
Yeah.
What are you trying to accomplish today? Personal goal, maybe a physical fitness goal, a professional goal, and then that will keep you focused for the rest of the day. And because most people have no clue as to really why they're here, what their purpose is. So define what's most important to you, and in that way, you'll stay motivated toward those goals throughout the day. And then each
like
day,
that.
as you rewrite them,
Yeah.
you'll refocus yourself,
Yeah.
and you'll be amazed at how this will keep you on track and what you can accomplish.
I love that. And I was just fixing to ask what is a habit or a tool that you use, and if that's it, that's understandable. If you have something else that you do every day that really adds value, if you want to share that.
Well,
with
there
us.
is something else, but this
Okay.
is, sometimes I tell people this and they just kind of shake their head. But I am a runner. Last year, because like many of us, back in March, I lost all of my engagements for the rest of the year, and I was under huge stress. Like, what the heck am I going to do? So one of the things I did to deal with the stress was I increased my running. And by the end of the year, by the end of 2020, I had run 2,020 miles. But what that enables me to do is just to let my mind go. And I think about things like this. It helps me plan my day. It's just been a huge, tremendous stress reliever for me. In fact, last time I was seriously sick was right after I got married. First month we were married, my wife had to convalesce me back. I got mononucleosis, and that was 38 years ago. So it's really helped me to keep my energy up, keep me healthy. So running may not be the thing for you, but find some sort of physical activity because it'll help you in multiple ways. Not only will it help you with your energy and your physical fitness, but it'll help you with your creativity as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not a runner for sure, but just even for me, getting out and taking a 10 or 15-minute walk.
Yeah.
And if
I'll probably do that tonight when we're done.
Yeah. And if I get stuck in a problem, something I can't solve, or if I am writing and I get kind of in a block, just instead of trying to power through, because I usually end up rewriting that, just get up, take a walk, it clears my head. And then, talking about the creativity, there are studies that say that, like our kids, and this extrapolates to adults, that we're so overscheduled and so overstimulated that we have lost the creative edge in some cases. But taking that walk, or even just sitting with yourself and trying to calm your mind, can really help those creative juices start flowing again.
Yeah, the other thing that helps me, and of course this isn't going to help everybody, but I have 8 grandkids. So when they come over, again, this is one of my goals. I want to be the best grandfather I can possibly be.
Yeah.
I become like a kid.
Yeah.
I get down on their level. I do the same, the crazier and zanier. They love it when you act like them.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to be.
Yeah.
I go out and play tag with them and chase them around, and we ride go-karts, and they think it's fantastic. And I'm working on one of my goals. I want to be a good grandfather.
Yeah.
So then when I get done, I feel energized. I feel like a kid. I get that energy back. And so that's serious work for me is to be a good granddad.
Yeah. nothing like being a grandpa and not, really having the rules and constraints to
That's
bring
right.
up the kids. Like, we're just here to have fun.
That's right.
Mom and dad can make them do
That's your
homework and
job.
eat your vegetables and all that later
Right.
on.
That is your job. Yeah. Yeah. Just to be as much fun as you possibly can. And it takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Sometimes they come over and I go, oh, geez, am I up for it today? But then after they leave, I'm so glad
Yeah.
that I did expend the energy.
Yeah, they are a blessing for sure.
Yes.
Well, Ted, thanks so much for taking time out of
Oh,
your
my
day. I
pleasure,
appreciate
Roy.
it. It's been an awesome conversation. So, tell everybody a couple things. Who do you like to work with? How can you help them? And then how they can reach you. But then also tell us how we can get a copy of the book.
Oh, certainly. Well, if anybody's struggling with writing the book, I've already written mine. This is everything I know, Roy. So I can't. I'd love to write another, but that's all I know. So if somebody needs some assistance with their ebook or book, I'd be happy to help them out. You could reach me at TED, TED, at Janus, JANUS, presentations.com. So TED at januspresentations.com. That's all one word. Obviously, my website is www.januspresentations.com. And I'd be happy to assist you in any way that I could. Once again, the name of my book is Superpower Marketing and Branding. I wrote it specifically for professional speakers and trainers, but just like the tips we talked about here, I think it spills over to other small business owners. And we discuss no cost and low cost resources to propel your business. And the ebook and the paperback book are available on Amazon.
Okay. Awesome. Y'all reach out and pick up a copy of the book to get started, and then give Ted a call. Let him help you with your presentations, with your speaking, or with writing your next bestseller.
Well, it was indeed a pleasure, Roy.
Yeah, it was.
I'm sorry it's over.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it was a great conversation. And I learned that it is fusion marketing. So, see,
That's
you learn
right.
something every day.
Yeah, you didn't even know you were a genius.
No,
Well, maybe
right.
you did, but that's just more proof.
Right, exactly. All right. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of the Business of Business podcast. Of course, I am your host, Roy. You can find us at www.thebusinessofbusinesspodcast.com. We're on all the major social media networks. Hang out probably on Instagram a little more than anywhere else. So reach out there. I'd be glad to interact with you also on all the podcast platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Spotify. If we're not on one that you listen to, reach out. I'd be glad to add it to make your listening easier. A video of this interview will also go up on our YouTube channel. So go over there and check us out. Till next time, take care of yourself and take care of your business.